Hello and welcome to part 4 of my tutorial series when it comes to learning Blender. So in this video we're going to be making roof trusses. We're just going to be sticking with standard roof trusses for now, but in this video we're going to be learning some new Blender concepts such as local axes, and we are also going to be applying symmetry. And we're going to be using the cursor, the 3D cursor, a lot more in order to apply these things. So first things first, we are going to create ceiling joists. So we will select a joist, we will duplicate it, bring it up a little bit, and then we will define its dimensions. So this is going to be 35 millimeters thick, and it is going to be 95 millimeters tall. So we will bring it down, GB. Now we will duplicate this, Shift D, and bring it up. Now we are going to rotate this about the Y-axis, 30 degrees, like so. And we'll just bring it up a little bit, G, Z. Okay, so what we're going to do here is select this and we're going to subdivide this. So we want the angled rafter to intersect at this point here. So what we are going to do is we are going to bring it down to here. Okay, that's where we want to be. So now we want to extend this a little bit. So we'll tab in and we will grab this and go along the x-axis. And here you can see a problem. We are moving things in the global axis, and that's no good. But we also have, when we rotated this object, we also rotated the object's local axis. So let's select local axes. And now when I do G and then Y, you can move it up and down its local Y-axis. So we're just going to move it down to about here. Then we are going to duplicate this again, and we will duplicate this. So we'll, I'm constantly going between global and local axes when it comes to all of this. So we'll grab it, Z it, rotate Y 30. Okay, and then we'll grab it, move it up, and then we will grab that corner and move it down to the subdivided point where we were before. We'll go back into local orientation, and then we'll pull this face out, like so. Okay. So I'm going to show you what a Boolean modifier is. So we need to cut bits off this joist, the ceiling joist. So what we're going to do is apply a Boolean modifier. So we select that, then we select the modifiers tab, we add a modifier, and then we look for Boolean. And then we select the object we want to cut into it. So in this case, it's this object. And this worked very nicely indeed. You can see it's cut it very, very nicely. But we will now do the same on the other side. So we'll add the modifier, select Boolean, select the object that we want to do. And that also cuts very nicely. I'm going to do things by adjusting geometry instead of doing modifiers. So we're on the local axis, so we'll G this, Y this, and go down to here. And then what I want to do, we want to snap to line. So we want to go to here and we want to snap it to this line here. So we will G and Y this one more time. Do a little bit of surgery here. So I'm going to select this line here, G and Y this, like so. And then we will put it into transparent mode, select that line, G and Y this. So now we go onto the next line, so onto the next rafter. So this one here. So we'll select G and then Y. And we'll go down to here, G, and then Y. And now we can select that, and then we can select this line here, which is buried in this one, and then G and Y, like so. And then when it comes to, let's go into this one here. We can G and Y that here. So the subdivision doesn't really matter, but what we can do is try and dissolve the faces into each other now. So I think you can just do dissolve faces like so, and now it's the single face. So those are your rafters. Now we're going to make the trusses. Select the right object. Okay. Shift D, Z. Okay, and this is 35 millimeters, but it is only 17 millimeters thick. So we're going to create subdivisions because we definitely need them here. So we'll select those two and we'll subdivide that. And then we will do the same on this side. So select those two lines, subdivide. Okay, right, we need to rotate along the y-axis 60 degrees. Okay, now we can do this. So grab, and we'll move it to here. Grab that. Okay, so now it's in the perfect location. Now, interesting thing about trusses is that they are always perpendicular to the rafters. So this truss here will support this rafter there. So select that line, and then we want to be in local axis. Grab it along the y-axis. There we are. Now let's go down to here, and I'm going to select these two faces. By the way, if you are in transparent mode, don't try and select a face by clicking on the face. Click on this dot here in the middle of the face. It's actually quite an efficient way of selecting faces. So now we will grab that and move it along the y-axis. We're in local mode. And we'll get a bit closer to where we are. So grab it, Y. Right, that's perfect. So now what we're going to do is grab this one, put it in transparency mode, grab that edge. Okay. We'll worry about this bit later on. What we're going to do next is we are going to duplicate this, but we are going to flip it. Now, if we go up here and we go into vertex select, let's select this vertex. Now, this cursor you can use for rotational reference, as we introduced in the last thing. We can also use it to apply symmetry. So what we're going to do is, with this selected vertex, we can do Shift S, and we can move the cursor to the selected point. Now, this is interesting because now you can duplicate this truss. So Shift D. We need to change the pivot point, and we need to change it to 3D cursor. So let's do this one more time. Control M and then X. So there is a perfectly symmetric roof truss. So let's edit this. And we want to select the lines, and we want to be in line selection. So we want local mode, don't we? We want to drag this along the y-axis down to there. and then tab out, tab in, select that line, grab it, y-axis. Now that is perfection, down up there at least. So now what we can do is we can select the next vertex, which is this one here. Shift S, cursor to selected. Okay, so now we can duplicate this truss. We can select the global axes. We can do Control M. We can flip it about X, like so. Let's stick transparency mode on. We'll select the edges, grab Y. There it is. And then we can do the same for this one here. So grab that, Y, like so. That's looking nice. So for this one, I think we can apply a Boolean modifier. So let's select this, add the modifier, and then select the object we want to cross out, this one here. And you can see what's going on here. We've got this two-dimensional plane right there. So I think I've just demonstrated why I don't particularly like Boolean modifiers here. But let's just undo all of that. Okay, so Boolean modifier removed. Let's make this ever so slightly smaller, like so. And then make the modifier one more time. Now it's a nice clean cut. That's exactly what I want. And then we can return the thickness back to where it was supposed to be. So what we'll do is select all of these and delete them. And then with this one, we can duplicate this on the other side. And then we'll select this vertex. And then we'll do Shift S and then cursor to selected. And then tab out. We'll do Shift T. Global axis, Control M, X. Okay. And we need to just do a little bit of fiddle with this truss. Local mode, G, Y. And there you go. So there is a basic truss. So what we are going to do is we're going to join these all together. So let's select all of these components. Let's find out where it's gone. It's right there. So we will do that. Now you can join individual meshes with the command Control J. Now it is all joined up. So I made the mistake of thinking I could resize the truss from the top part of the roof to the bottom part of the roof, and it does not work like that, unfortunately. So we have to do this and rebuild the truss for the bottom part of the roof all over again. Okay, so that is the lower truss done. So now what we're going to do is replicate these to cover the entire roof. Okay, so now it's going to be time to make an array. So the ratio here is going to be 17.142 minus, and we'll apply that. We're not going to apply it that far. These two are special, and we'll get back to that in a later video. So that is the bottom truss done. Now let's do the top truss. Okay, so that is nicely done. So we have got a few details that we need to work out, especially at the end trusses. So this is doubled up, and so is this. And then we have also got an additional rafter set out here, and we've got some special arrangements there. It's not new stuff to teach, but I will just simply fast forward and you'll see what I am doing. Okay, so this is how the end roof trusses look, generally speaking. So these pieces here are supported by uprights, which I will be adding in later. Let's do this same exercise over here. So what we've now done is create the trusses. So what we're now going to do is that we're going to add some eaves and soffits now. So we are just going to add a new cube, and we are going to make this 22 millimeters thick. We will duplicate this and we'll make another piece of wood, and it's going to be 19 millimeters thick and it's going to be 19 centimeters tall. This one is going to be 25 centimeters wide, 0.25 plus the distance. So I'll just grab that, B, to there, and then we will go into transparency mode. Okay, so now we need to position this one and we need to lower it half a centimeter. So GZ minus 0.05. So now we will stretch this out. Okay, so now I'm going to copy that to the other side. Now, one interesting thing about these roof lines on either side of the lower portion of the house, this is precisely one brick shorter on this side than it is on the other. Okay, so now we will copy that. Now I want to just show you what a median point rotation versus an individual origin rotation looks like. So rotate Z and then 90, and everything rotates in unison when it's a median point. Let's Control Z that. Now let's move it to individual origins and then rotate Z 90. Now you can see they've rotated about their individual origins there. So that can be useful. But not in this particular instance. It's interesting to just see where the rafters intersect with the eaves, and it can tell you a lot about whether you've got the dimensions of your house looking correct. Now bear in mind, on top of these rafters, we've got the sarking to add, we've got counter battens, and we've got battens to add. So there needs to be a little bit of an overlap. And on my reference house, you can see there is a bit of a, there's a bit of a margin there. So something needs a little bit of inspection. And this was how I was able to determine what the height of the inner foundations were. It was when I got to this stage that I found out that when the inner and outer foundation walls were the same height, then we got bad things happening up here. But when I did my measurements and I found out what the measurements were supposed to be, things worked out a lot better. So I'm going to check things out in terms of what height things are supposed to be at. Okay, so look at this. We'll just measure along the z-axis up to here. And you can see that the height of this from floor to the top of this joist here, that is 2.474 meters. Now, in my reference model, it's 2.438. So we need to drop the height of the roof trusses and these top bars here by 36 millimeters. So we'll select all of these items first. We'll drop it, grab Z minus 0.036. Okay, and then we will do the same with the bottom trusses. Okay, so now everything is reduced in height by 36 millimeters. So yeah, mistakes happen, and handling those mistakes, you need to just go for it in a methodical manner in order to overcome those challenges. So now we can see that we've got a bit of a height overlap there, which is what we want. Yep, that's looking fine. Okay, so now what we're going to do is select these, and then we're going to apply a Boolean modifier. So we'll search for modifier, Boolean, select the object, this, and then apply. And then we'll repeat that process all the way around. Okay, so now what we're going to do, select transparency mode, and we're going to select all of these items. So we will tab into here, select these items which have been chopped off, and we will delete them like so. And that is how you get a nice, neat finish, except for the fact that we've got some artifacts. So we need to fix those artifacts up. This one, for example, was not properly chopped at the edge. Okay, and then we will do the same exercise here, and then we'll do it from the top down instead. I think that's going to be safer. Okay, so let's get the transparency mode back on, And yeah, we've made a few, chopped off a little bit too much here. Okay, so that was much cleaner. So let's do this bit here. Okay, and let's try and deal with these rafters here. Okay, so those are the roof trusses now done. Okay, so we need to work on these rafters here. These are going to be inside the property. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a mask. So we'll create a new collection and we'll call this mask. And these are things which are going to be, let's call that mask 0.5 centimeters tall, 4 meters long. So we'll drag that to here. Okay, so we've got these trusses in an organized fashion now. Oh, where have all of these gone? Oh. Okay, that was something which, that was an artifact that happened when I was applying the Boolean modifier. And it goes to demonstrate you need to be careful with the Boolean modifier. Sometimes you'll find that geometry disappears in the most unexpected places. And when it does, you need to be vigilant. Well, I think this house is now starting to take shape a little bit more. We've made a few mistakes, and it's really important to highlight mistakes in these videos because we're all human and mistakes are part of the learning process. How to identify the mistakes and how to fix them is going to be crucial. Now, some of these things are not narrated because I'm not introducing new concepts, but being able to use orthographic views in order to do multiple selections of vertices across multiple objects, really good skill to learn. But in the next video, we are going to be developing these trusses in more complex ways. This is where the two roof planes intersect with each other. That's going to be interesting. And in my first attempt, that was quite a messy process. I'm going to hope that we are going to have a simplified method for doing it this time round. So I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you again very soon.